The Whispered File, Aviation Archaeology. On a hillside in rural France, a farmer plowing his field in 1952 struck something metal. He dug deeper. What he found wasn't a relic from centuries past. It was the charred remains of a fighter plane, still half buried in the soil. Decades after the war had ended, the wreckage of history was literally rising from the earth. After World War II, the European countryside became an unintended graveyard. Thousands of aircraft, British bombers, German fighters, American transports, lay scattered across fields, forests, and mountaintops. Most had been left where they fell. But something curious happened in the years that followed. Families of the dead began searching. Local historians started digging. What began as simple memorial building evolved into something more systematic: the birth of aviation archaeology. These weren't archaeologists in the traditional sense. They were farmers, school teachers, veterans' relatives, ordinary people driven by loss and curiosity. They would walk the same fields their ancestors had walked for generations, now watching for twisted metal poking through soil. When they found a wreck, they didn't just recover it. They documented it. They preserved it. They treated these crash sites like any legitimate excavation. Carefully, respectfully, with an eye toward understanding what happened and why. A single crash site could yield thousands of artifacts: an engine block the size of a man's torso, pieces of fuselage scattered across half an acre, personal effects, a leather flight jacket, a photograph, a letter never sent. Each piece told part of the story. The activity spread. Enthusiasts in Britain, Germany, and beyond began their own searches. What had started as grieving turned into a discipline. But here's where it gets complicated. Aviation archaeology sits in a strange space between hobby and science. Some sites are protected by law. Others aren't. Some families want the wrecks left alone as memorials. Others want them recovered and studied. Government agencies like the FAA and NTSB have their own protocols for commercial crashes. Military wrecks fall under different jurisdictions entirely. A wreck in the English Channel belongs to whom? A German bomber in a Polish forest. Who has the right to excavate it? To this day, new wrecks are still being found. In 2019, a World War II Spitfire was discovered in a peat bog in Scotland, so perfectly preserved that experts could still identify the pilot. But thousands more remain hidden, waiting beneath decades of growth and soil. So here's the question. When you find a grave that's also a historical artifact, who decides what happens next?